BTB listeners, thank you so much for checking out today's episode. Listen, if this episode inspires you, do me a favor, take 5 seconds to shoot me a like and subscribe to the podcast. There are several more exciting guests that are in the pipeline, and I just can't thank you enough for your continued support, and let's keep paying the mission forward. In today's episode, I interviewed Josh Greatz. He is the current assistant women's tennis coach at Washington State University. Originally from Australia, Josh has one of the most decorated tennis resumes coming from Metropolitan State University in Denver, where he played and won 89 singles matches and 86 doubles matches. He set multiple records and was twice named RMAC Conference Player of the Year. After he competed at Metro, he became the school's coach, where he led the team to top 25 Division II finishes. We discuss some of the trials and tribulations he's faced both as a player and a coach. We also dive into what he's up to at Washington State University, both as a coach and a recruiter for the program. He also gives advice on how to overcome challenges in your life to make best of situations no matter the circumstances.
Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars. Not every light is gonna guide you.
Welcome to the BTB Project, designed to empower listeners to identify their why and to live their best lives no matter the circumstances. My name is Kollman Gearhart, a former athlete and motivational coach. I've had the opportunity to inspire thousands through my story and help accomplish what they are built to be. You'll be encouraged by each and every episode, and let's get into it.
Yeah, when I blow up, I'ma soar high like Peter Pan. In real life, be living out my dreams. If I'm waking up, it's in a foreign land.
The BTB Project has had an opportunity to show how small of a world tennis is. And with my ties being a Colorado native and today's guest being one of the most decorated tennis players coming out of Metro State University, he is from Australia, one of the most impactful coaches that I've been able to come across. More importantly, he's made a shift recently where he's able to continue to be a coach at the highest level. And I would like to welcome Josh Greatz to the BTB Project. Welcome, man.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's been a unique journey, as I mentioned, coming from a place like Denver, a Division II coach at Metro State, where you got to play and have one of the most decorated careers there. What is it like making that transition to Washington State and providing your services to a highly accounted for Division I program?
Yeah, no, for me, starting as a small town country guy, not a whole lot of resources, and grew up playing with dad, maybe 5, 6 times a week, and now ending up in Pac-12 play. I think it's been quite fun to reflect and see how far I've come along, and all the people that have been a part of my journey. So I still think I have a lot to learn, and I think I learn a lot from our current team every single day. Very excited for what's ahead.
I know you mentioned, Josh, that this move was pretty recent, that you made things official back in August. And I remember you and I being able to talk while you were still in Denver, making that transition. And you're a family guy. I know you have some exciting news of that family growing here sooner rather than later. And what does it mean as a tennis coach to make that type of sacrifice, to pick up and go to a new state and to do something brand new? What was it like for you to make that transition?
It was incredibly hard, to be honest, leaving Denver, and still have a lot of fun memories and strong relationships. In Denver, I was there for 10 years, 5 as a player and 5 as a coach. It was very difficult, and very thankful for my wife to want to make that kind of leap with me. And we felt like it was time to take that next step and to be an assistant coach, something that I've never been before, and to get bossed around in a certain sense is something I needed, I think. Looking back at, like I said, my time in Denver, I built a lot of long-lasting relationships and learned a lot in my time there, and very thankful for everything I was given there.
You said something that resonated with me, being a Colorado native and how I came across tennis. My relationship with my dad, our excuse to hang out was after school or in the evenings when he got off work to hit the tennis courts. And by no means we had a budget that was friendly for the game. I was always using used rackets, used tennis shoes. And if I did well that particular night, we'd go to Taco Bell afterwards and eat some bean burritos. Well, with that said, when it comes to your development, and we'll tap into more of being in Australia and that transition, I would love for you to share with the listeners, what did it mean to have that relationship with your dad, and how'd you guys spend time on the court?
So I grew up in a town called Strawberry West, very small, 200 or 300 people. Luckily, the courts were right down the road, and it was about 30 minutes away from, probably one of the more famous grass court facilities in the world, in Albury-Wodonga. That's where Margaret Court and Sam Groth grew up playing on the grass there. I was fortunate to have a pretty strong tennis community in a very small town, so there wasn't a ton of opportunities. There wasn't a ton of tennis players my age, and as I developed, there became less and less opportunities to get high level competition. And very thankful for my dad. He loves the game just as much as I do, and I think we bonded over the lovely game of tennis. And very thankful to what he did to get me to where I am now. And you grew up always wanting to play tennis as long and as much as I could, and I knew I never had the background to play professional tennis. I just didn't. In such a small town, Mom was always on me about the academics, and I was never allowed to do the homeschool. Let's just play tennis all day, every day. So I had that balance, and I'm very thankful for that now, looking back. But we did a trip to the States with our tennis academy in, I think, 9th or 10th grade of high school, and we visited a couple college campuses. Absolutely loved that trip, every moment. And right then and there, I knew that was my pathway to get over to the States, play college tennis. I didn't really have a great level, to be honest. I wasn't able to play a ton of tournaments, being a small town country guy. And so for me, I sent out some emails to coaches, and thankfully had one or two respond, and took that relationship from there to get over here.
Yeah, you have a unique perspective, Josh, because here you are as a coach and probably part of the recruiting process there at Washington State, and obviously part of the recruiting process to build the incredible RMAC teams that you had when you were at Metro. Coming from that type of upbringing, you bring a tremendous amount of perspective. One of a perspective that you maybe not see all too often in tennis, because tennis is deemed as a country club sport. There's a lot of kids that come from very well-off families, maybe a little bit of entitlement, and maybe sometimes that shows up on the court with their mental toughness or lack thereof, right? But I just would love for you to share, based off of your journey of being recruited to play college tennis compared to recruiting kids to play college tennis. Do you have some parallels there that you still tap into today to help you with your recruiting process?
Yeah, no, good question. I think for me, playing tennis in the States was everything. That was my final destination at that time. That was the dream. And for me, recruiting at Washington State compared to when I was being recruited at MSU Denver, it's very different. Different sides of the spectrum. That's for sure. It's more about what can we provide the student athlete rather than maybe what the student athlete can provide the university. It is a two-way side to the story always, but I think on my side, I was just, and still am, so passionate about the game of tennis and college tennis. And I try to look for that as much as possible in recruits, that this is their dream to get over and play college tennis, not their backup plan. It's not something that they're half in, they're half out. I think you need to be 100% to the college tennis environment. Otherwise, you're probably not going to be as successful as what you could be.
Yeah, 100%. And when I reflect back to my playing days, I relate heavily to you. I wasn't necessarily the most talented, certainly wasn't recruited. I was known as being the 0-star recruit and walking on and taking scholarships rather than receiving them.
Yeah.
And I think there's something that comes from that kind of grit and perseverance, because when I look at your career, you might have had some of those same tangibles where maybe you were overlooked or not looked at because from where you were from, it was just hard to create visibilities with tournaments. And I used to have teammates that were from Hawaii and had the same type of situation where they were stuck on an island, no pun intended, and couldn't get that visibility for their ranking or the UTR that finally started coming in near the tail end of my career. But nonetheless, here you are being able to have this opportunity at Metro State. And it's a unique perspective for me because I used to compete against Metro a few years before you competed, which I'm not complaining about. But I also had an opportunity to interview, one of your former coaches, Daniel Hanksteffer, and hearing the nuances of the program that he built and how important it was for you to be a part of that. And I want to dive into what you did as a player. And I know that you don't like talking accolades, but coming from 89 singles victories and 82 in doubles, that's what I believe the most wins ever at Metro State. And does that record still hold true today?
I'm not sure. Yeah, you'd have to bring up the record book. Yeah, too nice of you for sure. Yeah, to look back on Daniel and his impact on the program and myself personally, certainly wouldn't have got where I am today and at MSU without his guidance. And I think he is one of the harder working, more passionate people that I know, and not just on the tennis court, but very much off the tennis court as well. So, yeah, very thankful for everything that he did for the program. And yeah, he was a first-time head coach at MSU, just like myself. So I think our paths have crossed in many ways.
Yeah, right out of the gates, you show up to Metro. I'd love for you to share with the listeners, one, what was that transition like from Australia to Denver, Colorado? And two, how did you come out of the gate and become RMAC Freshman of the Year?
Yeah, well, for me in the recruiting process, like I told you, I only had really a couple schools that were interested. And thankfully, one of those was MSU and was actually recruited from an Aussie. She was the head coach before Daniel. Never actually played underneath her as Daniel transitioned into the role. But it was a really great fit for me because I was not well-traveled, small town guy, not at really many opportunities at all. And Denver was the polar opposite. MSU is smack dab in the middle of the city, great facilities, having teammates to hit with every day, never been around snow, never played altitude tennis before. But it was just a ton of news for me. And yeah, it wasn't a hard decision to say yes to come play in Denver. And I think looping back to the word passion, I came in and I was just so excited to play. And I love to train, loved to work hard in every sense to be on the tennis court much as I could possibly be. And I think that paid off in the sense that my preparation was always really good. And when things got hard on the tennis court, which in college tennis, that happens a lot. There's a lot of pressure, things get challenging. I felt like I had the belief that I could win in those moments because I loved the game more than them. And I felt like I'd do anything to win that match. Like I'd die on the court if I felt like I needed to. So yeah, I think that's a part of the reason why. I guess I don't know for
sure. As coaches, I'm spending time in the high school level for a few years now, whether it's college or high school or even on the tour. You're trying as a coach to bring out the best in your athletes. But one thing that I'm very passionate about is that you can't teach someone to want it. You can't teach grit. And I would be curious to know, Josh, based off of how you played the game, have you been able to come across some players as a coach where you're like, this is someone I can relate to? And if so, is that the type of athlete that you enjoy working with the most? Or do you like those transformative type of experiences where maybe you come across someone that doesn't necessarily know how to work or have that grit, and then all of a sudden through working with someone who used to have it like yourself, the stars align? I'd love for you to share some stories of the type of athlete that you enjoy to coach.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think you always look for players that kind of have those same values as what you do. And yeah, I would say I probably gravitate more toward those players, men or women, that just love to be on the tennis court and want to develop and want to get better. It certainly hasn't been every player I've worked with. And I know that for the vast majority, I'm going to love the game more than them. And my job is to motivate and to try to get them to where they want to be. And you summed it up. You can't force them to want it. And I'm all for players that maybe haven't worked as hard as what they should have, or maybe haven't had the results that they've wanted, but they're like, okay, I'm going to change. I really want it. Please show me how. And I'm all for that. And yeah, you mentioned the stories. I think I've had a couple of players that at MSU in particular, that John Liu always comes to mind, actually. So JL, he's just graduated from MSU, but Colorado guy. He came into my program as my number 8 as a freshman, couldn't make the lineup. I think he maybe fell out of love a little bit with the game before coming into college tennis. And then as soon as he realized he wasn't going to play in the lineup, the switch kind of came in. He's like, well, I want to play. And then all of a sudden, he started to work hard, and he transformed over really a year. Actually, within a year, he went from out of the lineup to playing number 1 for me and winning against some of the better players in the country. I think it comes back to how bad do you want it? And it doesn't have to be perfect over the stretch of your career. As long as you're with me and you want to work hard, and I think we're going to be fine. Yeah, similar story on the women's side. I had a player that probably had a little bit more passion than what JL did to start, but she didn't have the belief. And she was always beating herself. Her name was Marie. She's listening. Shout out to her. And she's actually going to be coaching a little bit with the women's team. But
Awesome.
Yeah, she came in and was also battling for lineup spots, and she also wanted it so bad. She was doing extra and the team loved her, but she would always just beat herself. And I never kind of quite figured out, without just telling her, hey, you got this, you put the work in, you're prepared. And then all of a sudden, sometimes it is just a click of the fingers, like you figure it out. You have that big win and you get over the mountain. And yeah, the following year, she was playing 2 singles for me and being a great doubles player and team captain, all of those things. I think that the story of just persevering and keep going no matter what.
Yeah, being able to have the perspective that you have. And I think it's just awesome from coach to coach to hear those stories of when the light bulb clicks for players that you're helping, right? And I don't take lightly where you came from. I know nothing about that part of Australia, but what I do know is a fair amount of understanding of hardships and learning from those hardships to develop perseverance and grit. So when I say that word hardship, Josh, and when it comes to your journey, what do you think was one of the most impactful moments in your life that helped galvanize you into who you've become today?
Yeah, no, good question again. I think for me, and not to get all, soapy on you, but my sophomore year of college, my mom got sick, was actually diagnosed with cancer. And around that same time, my dad lost his job. So it was a very stressful time for me. And yeah, I remember actually my mom didn't even tell me until 4 months into chemo treatment because she didn't want to impact my tennis results over here. And she ended up, telling Daniel. So I found out when she, had no hair and was looking pretty sick. To this day, I still remember mom saying that you are not coming home. You are not giving up your dream. And it was a tough decision for me. And I know I would have regretted going home, and not to say that I was forgetting about my family or anything like that. But I kept that dream. And at the end of the day, there was not much I could have done anyway through mom's treatment. And thankfully, she's doing really well now. But that was a moment where I just had to keep going no matter how shit the situation was. And I know that my family was supporting me through my dreams. And that's my goal now, is to support the student athletes through their dreams and what they want to achieve. And for a lot of our current players, it's professionally. After graduation, they want to go on the tour. I'm trying to do everything in my power to help them achieve what they want to achieve.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing about your mom. I never love to hear those types of stories, but it aligns that perspective. Ironically enough, my sophomore year in college, my mom passed away. She was an addict, and I took her to her first rehab when I was 16. And part of developing that perseverance and grit was learning how to care for my mom in those moments. And a lot of the things that I do today as a coach was, she told me, no matter what I did in life, to go help people.
Yeah.
I'm sure that a lot of the things that your mom showed you through her perseverance and in good health now, what a blessing to hear from cancer, has given you a perspective to pay it forward per se and helping others. And I tip my hat to you for having the tennis court be a place that allows you to maintain alignment, because sometimes that's exactly what it takes for us to get through some stuff. And listen, whether it's your heart or my heart or any player that we're coaching's hard,
yeah, life
is life. And to be able to learn from that and to grow from that is incredibly impactful. But to button up your career real quick at MSU, listen, the record and the awards are extraordinary. I'm sure if I got in my car and drove downtown, there's probably a statue of Josh somewhere around campus. I would hope. But when I look at all of these, being able to not only do what you did as a tennis player, I'm really intrigued by what you did as a student athlete, maintaining your GPA and really trying to focus on the all-encompassing piece of being a college athlete. Could you speak to the listeners on what does it mean to you to have the academic backbone with what you also did on the tennis court, and how has it propelled you into who you are today?
Yeah, I think my parents, for how they raised me and the balance that I had as a kid. As much as I would have loved to have been on the tennis court all day, every day, I was very much told academics is a big part of our family and what we want to do moving forward within the college system as well. You are a student first, and grew up playing a lot of team sports as well. I didn't just play tennis. I had to actually play multiple sports as a kid, and I wasn't able to solely focus on tennis until I was probably 15 years old. I have that well-rounded perspective in the sense that a lot of my friends were farmers or footballers or cricketers. I wasn't just around tennis players all the time. And I think I had that perspective of balance is important. And I think I took that perspective into MSU. A lot of the people that are around, we didn't have dreams of playing professional, but I think for me, I was just trying to focus more on how do we bring that passion, that energy, that intensity every single day to the court. And I think that started from leading through example of doing it every single day and having that consistency, and hopefully others will follow.
So you play your last match, you hang up the gloves at MSU. At what point did you know that you wanted to be a coach? Because I remember my transition. I played my last match, and then I was in surgery 24 hours later to have my back surgery. But I had an older brother, ironically, that was 4 years older, who was a soccer coach in high school. And I used to watch him when I wasn't playing matches. And I fell in love with this idea of mentorship and giving back. But I'd love for you to share when you knew that you wanted to be a coach.
Yeah, well, I had no idea I was going to become a head coach. 3 months after graduation. I mean, how could you? Yeah, I think right place, right time. I did have some pretty strong relationships with administration at MSU. And so fortunate for that. And we had, so my 5th year of college, we had a new coach that came in, and he ended up leaving after maybe 7 or 8 months in the role, left in July before before season, and I'd graduated, was working at a country club, and got a call actually from the AD at the time. And he just called me and said, "Hey, as the coach is leaving, do you know anyone that would be interested?" Because we couldn't do a national search at that point. It was so late in the process. So we were going to have to do an emergency hire, as they call it. And yeah, he said, "Do you know anyone that's interested? And lastly, would you be interested?" And that caught me really off guard that he would even ask that. And yeah, quickly, obviously I said, "Well, yeah, maybe if the team would even want to have me," sort of thing, stuttering over my words, and quickly called a couple of the players on the men's team and the women's team, because the role was coaching 2 programs. And maybe they lied to me, but they were like, "Yeah, no, please apply," as your friends are always going to say. And went through that hiring process, and yeah, not sure how, but was offered the job, and was thrown 6 feet under and had no idea what I was doing. No assistant at the D2 level. It's head coach, 2 programs, figure it out. And thankfully, going back to the relationships with the administration, they were very patient with me and made a ton of mistakes my first couple of years, and a lot of learning growth moments for me. I probably came in thinking I knew too much. I didn't know anything, reflecting back. So yeah, very grateful for that experience, because if not, probably would have headed off to grad school and was thinking clinical psychology, and the rest is history now being in college coaching.
Were you more nervous, Josh, when you stepped on the court for the first time as a player in college or as a coach?
As a coach, yeah, because I felt like it was more out of my control. And that's probably been the hardest thing as a coach now, is we can prepare as much as we want to, and we can give the speeches and all the confidence to the players. But at the end of the day, once they step onto the court, it's really up to them. And I think I've got better at making peace with that over time. But yeah, having that lack of control was hard initially.
I mean, obviously what you did at MSU as a player and a coach, I believe a top 20, almost top 25 program at D2 right before you left on the guys' side, and competing and or being part of RMAC championships. It's extraordinary. But here you are making this big shift to Washington State and Pac-12. And I know that there's some conference alignment that's going on right now too. But one thing that really struck me, and this is something that I've always related to as a player, is when I played college tennis, I played 4 Americans in 4 years. And when I take a look at the Washington State roster, you got gals from all over the world: Egypt, Spain, Thailand, Germany, Japan, New Zealand, a couple locals from the state of Washington. But from a coaching perspective, how was the transition for you to get to know these new players at Washington State, and more importantly, connect with them, knowing that you came from the international scenes as well?
Yeah, I think it's been the really nice thing transitioning here, going from MSU, where I had 19, 20 players across 2 programs, to now only having 8 girls. I'm an assistant. I've had the privilege of focusing more on the relationship side of things, getting to know them deeper, which that trust as a coach player is everything. And I think I struggle with that a lot of the times at MSU with so many players, and the performance side of things, that I had to just go straight to the core a lot of the times without the fluff on the outside. And the fluff has been really fun here, in the sense that I just get to know them as a player and what their goals are, their aspirations. And yeah, just having a smaller number has been a blessing for me and what I'm trying to do here. And like I said, a lot of them have professional aspirations as well. I get to track them over the summer now, and them playing ITFs. And whereas at MSU, it was like, summer, peace out, I'll see you in 3 months, and didn't have as much of that relationship piece has been really nice for me here, and focusing a little more on the recruiting as well, bringing in the right girls. And Raquel and I are focusing really hard on that piece of the puzzle, because it's the most important piece. It's hard to be successful without the right players in the program. So really honing in on that.
Yeah, and I got to pick your brain on that, coach, is being able to understand what recruiting looks like in 2024, because I have a unique perspective now, being a former D1 athlete to now I'm a parent of a track and field and cross country runner. We're actually heading out to Alabama for a race here in a couple days for
Cool.
a national meet, and he's part of the recruiting process. And as a coach, I was able to coach a young lady that won the #1 singles state championship for 5A in Colorado, which was the first championship in school history at Valor Christian, which was pretty awesome. So she's
Cool.
sophomore and already looking to have some of those conversations early. But nonetheless, 2024, Title IX, COVID, budgets, I got to understand from your perspective, what is an ideal recruit in your opinion, and how many of them are out there genuinely in 2024 that are interested in playing women's college tennis? I feel like it's a sport that's evolved a lot, but I just would love to hear your perspective on how you recruit and really what the overall goal is for Washington State moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I think recruiting from where I was to where I am now has given me perspective, and the resources here are very different than what I had at MSU. Was not really able to travel to any event. I had to get people to travel to me. They would pay their own expenses to come to Denver.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it's if we want to see a player play the game, then we travel to them, and we can travel international now, and we can get to know the player and the parents, because the parents you're recruiting the parents as well. So getting to know the family is really important, because the more that you get to know them, the more that you get to know what kind of tennis player they're going to be and who are they going to be when things get hard, looping back to what we were saying. And I think grit is a big piece of the puzzle in college tennis, and you only get to know if they have it by spending time around them and seeing them. Hey, I don't think we have successful science here yet, but I know that we have the resources to be able to go see players play and to spend more time. And we just have more time with a smaller roster here to get to know them, and bringing good players into the program is everything. If you enjoy coming to work every single day, which I do, then that helps. If you got a crappy team, then it'd be a pretty crappy life. Yeah, I think the recruiting is just spending time, the most important thing.
That's well said. And I want to touch on culture real quick, because I know Washington State vividly as a CU football fan, coming across some pretty darn good teams back in the day with Coach Mike Leach. And I know that his life was lost far too soon, but being on the grounds of Washington State, I'm curious how much his impact on the school has resonated into some of the other program and their culture.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've learned a lot about Mike Leach in this last year. And yeah, we had a couple games where we were honoring his legacy, and the pirate flag were handed out. And yeah, I think he showed a lot of sports here at WSU that you can be successful, that you can win here. And a lot of our opponents are the powerhouses, Stanford, Cal, Oregon. So for us, yeah, I think he just showed that winning is possible here. And it is a very special place here in Pullman. Everyone knows everyone, and the town is WSU, is Go Cougs. I've never walked through airports so much, whether that's in Australia or anywhere, where people are just like, go Cougs, if you're wearing a Coug shirt. And there's a real sense of pride here in Pullman. And I think it's a really special place for recruits to come into, because you are taken care of here, and there's not the distraction of a big city. You really get to focus in on your community, your tennis, and your academics.
As a coach, I know that you're in a new situation, and it's that stepping stone that I believe you've been looking for. Even though it's an assistant opportunity, it's a tremendous school and level of tennis that I knew you were capable of coaching at, and I know you were as well. But when it comes to your coaching legacy, what is really the end game for you, Josh, on what you're trying to accomplish as a coach?
I don't think I really have an end game right now. I was just really ecstatic that Raquel chose to bring me on board here, and really the only school I spoke with, and I wanted to become an assistant. That was my non-negotiable with Lindsay and I making the move. Was being thrown into head coaching with no experience was awesome, and I learned so much, but I felt like at a certain point I needed to learn from somebody else and to take that step back to focus in on, like I said, the relationships, the recruiting, the development of the student athlete. And that's been the most important and the most beneficial thing for me this year was the relationships. And I would say moving forward, I hope that's where my legacy would be, is not in the winning and the losing. It's like how I've impacted those around me and hopefully brought their love of the game of tennis up to an upward trajectory, because I love it so much and I try to infect it with the girls and make them love it hopefully as much as me.
And Josh, I got one last one for you. Your perspective and what you've done as a player, as a coach, it's extraordinary. And I know that you've learned a lot on this journey. I'd be curious if you had a chance to go back to the homeland in Australia and maybe sit down with a 15, 16-year-old Josh that's coming up in the tennis ranks, playing on the artificial turf, really trying to find yourself and finding opportunities to play college tennis in the States. Based on what you've learned, everything that you've experienced with that hardship with your mom and your dad, getting through that, coming out on the other side, being a married guy, building a family, I'd love for you to share what advice you would give your 15, 16-year-old self, knowing what you know now.
Yeah, I think patience would be the one thing I would share with myself. And I think I've got much better with that over time, and still need to be better at that concept of not trying to achieve it all at once. And I think, it was my first day on the job at MSU when I was, like I said, 6 feet under, had no idea what I was doing. And one of the coaches sat me down for coffee and he said, hey, just try and achieve one thing at a time, take it one step at a time, try to not do it all. And I think that's resonated for me. And if I was to look back and give myself advice, I think as a young kid, you're trying to do it all. And if you can really just focus in on those one or two things that are important to you and try to do them well rather than try to do it all.
Well said and wise words. And often on the BTB Project, Josh, I say impossible is nothing. What does that mean to you?
I agree. Yeah, you're your own greatest enemy, and if you believe it can be done, then there's no reason why it can't be done. So I'm all for that.
Well, hey, from Colorado, I'm proud of you. I'm certainly excited to see what you guys continue to bring to the table at Washington State. Continued health and happiness to you and your wife, and expecting and just keep up the good work. And thanks for spending a little bit of time with me today on the BTB Project.
Awesome. Thanks, Kollman. Appreciate it.
What a tremendous conversation with Josh Greatz. As we were able to unpack some of the situations he was able to overcome to accomplish his goal as a Division II college tennis player, and now a current assistant coach at Washington State. Being able to hear more about his perspective of learning to keep patience, to provide an outlet for the players that he coaches on a daily basis to accomplish their goals and dreams, all stemming from what he was able to overcome with his perseverance and determination in life. Listen, if Josh's story impacted you, do me a favor and like and subscribe to the BTB Project. Better yet, send this message to a family member, friend, or colleague, and tell them about Josh's story. Tell them how it resonated with you and how it can help impact them. It's each and every episode like Josh's that allows us to come together as a BTB community to learn, grow, and adapt, and to become the strongest version of ourselves. I appreciate you taking the time to check out today's episode. And until next time, take care.